Benjamin Durand from Panthera Team Asia, thanks for speaking with the Inside Line.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Obviously, you've been a former managing director of SMP Racing and BR Engineering in the World Endurance Championship. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey to here to this project, and also if you're working on the project full time now?
First of all, yes, I'm working on the project full time. This is a full-time commitment because you cannot do this kind of thing doing something else. It's really, really demanding to create a new team like this. This project is born 3 years ago when I stopped with SMP. We decided to split because their program was different from what it was at the beginning. At the time, I was trying to develop BR Engineering customer car because, you know, the BR01 could not compete anymore in WEC. And it has only 1 year after in the LMS. So we were looking to expand to Asia. And doing so, my contact over there in Asia starting to tell me that it's difficult for the prototype world over there. At the time, it was. But it was, they were really, really starting to get excited with Formula One, with the Grand Prix coming, etc. So the project was born a little bit like this when, you know, I sit down with my partners and we say, okay, what do we do now? And it naturally come to Formula One saying, okay, let's go to the next big step and okay, let's try. It seems a good idea at the time.
Fantastic. From what I understand, you're based near Silverstone, is that correct?
We had a small office in Silverstone, yes, just for the aerodynamic side that we start to put together a small team around Team Mills to start to work on the new regulation and start to do some preliminary aero process that we have done. It was quite difficult because you know that the regulation has not been completely fixed until end of last year. So we started to work with what we could get and what we had, but it's really a small structure. We don't have the big structure right now.
And so you want to, I mean, it's Panthera Team Asia. Why Asia, and where in Asia specifically?
At the beginning, we were more oriented toward Chinese because our first backer were Chinese. But we have a lot of connection in Southeast Asia, and there is a strong interest also for Formula One over there. There should have been the Grand Prix in Vietnam this year. Thailand is very, very developing on motorsport too, even if it's not Formula One. Indonesia has still been there for a long time. You had also Indonesian driver that race in Formula One. Malaysia, obviously, was one of the Grand Prix. So there is a strong pool of interest over there. And when we start developing the team, we saw that there was a strong possibility to develop motorsport over there and to be a little bit like a head spear of motorsport there. There's a lot of support that we receive from people, fans, and also potential investors over there.
You spoke a little bit about your team already with Tim Mel, who's been with a lot of F1 teams, most recently with Manor. But can you tell me a bit about the team that you have working for you at the moment?
Well, it's really, really small at the moment because obviously we cannot go full scale until we are sure to have the entry or to be competing. But in the process to be taken seriously by the FIA, by our commentator, our backers, and everybody, we needed to show that okay, we're not just crazy people with a nice idea to go to Formula One. We do the things properly. And the idea at the beginning was to arrive obviously sooner in Formula One. And as you know, the time to develop a car is very long, and the aerodynamic is the most important things right now in Formula One. So we started to develop things with Tim, with few engineers, just to have the first background and to be able to present to the different people we are talking to that, okay, this is the project, this is what we are doing, this is where we are, and it's moving forward and it's serious.
And in terms of the new era, it's obviously a big change for Formula One in the way that the cars, the aerodynamics affect the cars with the wake behind the cars. Can you tell me a bit about the attraction of the new rules to you as a team and what you think you can achieve under these new regulations?
Well, new regulation is always an opportunity for existing team and for new teams. It doesn't put everything back to zero, but it gives some better chance to be competitive under reasonable things, because obviously from the last team that arrived in F1, us, we already have a few years of delay from them. They know Formula One. Formula One is utterly complex. It's very, very hard on the technical side to arrive and to be right away in, not even at the level of the other one, but in the range, in the reasonable range. But new rules might help us to be more competitive. Again, not to be in front, but to be at least not completely on the back, to be in the zone with the other ones.
And in terms of the delay, obviously now that's been pushed back to 2022. Is that in your favour? Give you more time?
Yes, it's definitively something. I mean, the more time you have to develop, especially for us that we are not in Formula One right now, we are not in full development right now. We have a lot of things to develop and to learn. So every delay for us is a positive in a way. It's negative in other ways, but it's positive on the technical side. I mean, the more you give time to your engineers and to your technical team, the more they can develop a performant car. Yes.
We've obviously heard from Ross Brawn saying, in terms of bringing new teams into the sport, even before the rules were delayed, he was saying that he would look for 2022 or 2023. Does that set back your plans in terms of, because they will look for that initial, the first year, they will probably look to just keep the same teams, or are you pushing? Obviously, it's a moving target, but when are you pushing it?
Yes, it's as you say, it's a moving target, and you have to adapt. The difficulty when you create a project in this kind and this scale is that you have to have everything in line. The first thing you have to have, obviously, is the money, because without money you cannot do anything. But that's not enough. It's a necessary condition, but you have everything to be in line. And last year was a year of many changes and many developments in Formula One. So it was kind of difficult also to arrive. And we were basically, to speak frankly, we were not the priority of Formula One last year. They were not looking absolutely to get new teams. They wanted to make sure the rules were set up with FIA, make sure that the existing teams sign the new Concord agreement and have a sustainable. They don't want to lose teams, bring new teams and lose existing one, which is understandable. We have had a very open discussion with FIA and F1 since the beginning. They know about our project. They advise us on the best way to do it, and we are listening to them. We are communicating to them. We're not trying to push anything. We understand that they have their agenda, especially right now. The difficulty is to have everything in line at the same moment, where the money is there with the investor motivated. The FI and F1 are ready to open the tender and bring new teams, and the technical partnership can be done on the engine and even more with the manufacturer. So this is where we have the difficulty. Sometimes we have one thing and we don't have the other one, and it's having everything in line together has been the challenge so far.
In terms of speaking with the FIA, they've said that they're not speaking with any projects at the moment. Is that to keep the pressure off you to be able to build in the shadows, so to speak?
No, what they say was not that they were not speaking. They said that they had no, or they put it, there are no concrete, tangible conversation, serious conversation with teams to start the process. Basically because either we were not ready at one point, or either it was not their priority at another point. But we have open channel of discussion with them. Obviously, it's not something you can do without talking to them. or without talking to F1. So we are talking with them. We are seeing with them what is the best way to arrive. We don't want to just arrive and disturb and say big announcement, oh, we are coming, and put pressure on anybody to force us to be accepted. We want to come and to bring something to Formula One. So we have to work with them, and we're happy to. Obviously, we have to manage the delays. We have to manage the situation that sometimes some of the things are out of our control. But the conversation and discussion has been very, very good with them. They know about the project. Sometimes they ask for more information about this or that we provide. We're ready to sit down with them when the time comes. Obviously, it's not the time right now, but we keep an open channel with both of them.
That's fantastic. Very smart strategy. In terms of the financial element, obviously it's a big part of a Formula One team. We've seen, obviously, last week, or actually it was this week, regarding the new budget cost cap that they're bringing in from 2021, 145 million, with they're hoping with a glide path down to 130. Can you give me a bit of an understanding of your financial backing in terms of what you can tell me about the power and the longevity behind the project?
We have a group of investors behind us. The difficulty those past weeks especially has been to keep them motivated. Obviously everybody is worried about what's going on right now. Everybody is worried, not worried, but curious to see where Formula One is going. So it's difficult to put anything in place right now. We might lose some. We might have some other people that are coming in. We are trying not to have only one backers, but a group of backers. We have obviously one or two backers that are the spine of the backing, but the whole project does not lie only on them right now. After, it's very difficult because today I can tell you, yeah, everything is going well, but tomorrow, with the situation, the backers can suddenly decide that is not the time for him to put the money on this kind of project or everything. These difficult times are both dangerous because it can make projects like ours collapse, but also it's a good time of opportunities. And maybe not all, but some of our backers are seeing that. And some new people are in discussion with us also right now, because let's face it, Formula One, whatever is the problem right now, will survive, will still be there after this crisis. In what state, in what regulation, we don't know. But if you invest right now in Formula One, you know that you will still be there, pending that you do the things correctly and your team is well managed. You will be, Formula One will still be there. It's not like you invest in Formula One and suddenly in 1 year Liberty say, okay, no, we stop everything and there is no more Formula One. So it's the positive side. The other side is that when they ask, what is the new regulation? What will be the TV rights? What will be the sponsor possibility? Where will be the races? All those things. It's still, we know more or less what it's going to be because it's not going to be a big change, but it's still some interrogation. We cannot give really tangible things to the investors. So it's the period where we have to continue to do what we are doing, wait, and when the time comes, okay, to push the button to go further.
From what I understand, you want to do, instead of a Haas model, you want to do something like Williams, where you take technology from, or a power unit, and build the car from there as a customer team. Is that correct?
It's a mix. It's a mix. As I said before, arriving to Formula One today, if you're not a big manufacturer, it's quasi impossible to catch up with the technical side. It's so complex and so difficult. And again, nobody wants to have a team that is 5 seconds behind the lastest car. So we want to be there. Doesn't mean that we want to be in front. What did us was exceptional, and okay, it's probably a one shot. It's going to be very, very difficult to replicate. But at least if we can be there to fight in the range of the other ones, and eventually in some races score points at one point, this is what we are aiming for. We want to develop, we want to have a long-term project, So yes, we're going to lean on a manufacturer, an existing manufacturer in Formula One, to get as much as we can for the knowledge and the know and parts also, to have time to develop our infrastructure, because also we want to develop some infrastructure in Asia if we can, or at least some R&D, because they are really interesting to get the Formula One know-how in those countries. But this takes a lot of time. You cannot arrive and say, okay, we're going to set up a team in Formula One, I don't know, in Indonesia tomorrow, and and make it work. It's impossible. All those things take time. So in the process, we start with the maximum support we can get from a manufacturer, and then we will slowly, with a determined plan, invest in our own infrastructure. Then after, we need also to see what Formula One will be. What will be the cost? What will be they are talking a lot of talks about the selling the full car, things this kind. So those can be something that is interesting at the beginning. We need to see, again, we need to be flexible. Our business plan, we think, work, and our business model work. It's a little bit based on what us did, because they did it very, very well. So kudos to Gunther for what he built, because he built a very good structure. But it's a little bit different because we still have this Asian development that we want to have on the medium long term.
And is it true that you've signed deals with, or tentative deals with all suppliers, or your major suppliers that you're hoping to go forward with?
We have, obviously, until we are entering in the champion as a competitor, until we get the entry and everything, we cannot invest massively because our backers will not allow it. There's still a risk that, okay, we don't get the entry, then what you do with it. But what we have done so far is getting the pre-agreement with several suppliers, key suppliers, to help us in this development. Also the time we build the infrastructure, because just, for example, to build a carbon factory, it takes a lot of time. And we were supposed to arrive a little bit faster. So we have agreements right now with some key, and also in recruitment, we are working with a very, very high-level recruitment company here in UK that is specialized in motorsport also. So we have everything in place. The first thing we wanted to do is to present the FIA. FIA requirements are several. The first one is obviously the money. You need to have the money, but they also want to know how you're going to spend your money, and if you can manage a Formula One team and do something. It's not all to have money, but if you don't have a car at the first race because you are not capable to building it, even with all the money you have, it's not good. So they wanted to make sure that we have a plan on how we're going to develop, how we're going to spend this money. And we are capable to basically build a car and bring it to the first race or the first test. So we have work on this to make it happen, and we have some good pre-agreements right now with some key industries.
What's the roadmap from here in terms of, specifically, you said that the project obviously is going forward and you're being fluid in terms of waiting for your time to push forward. But can you tell me about the next couple of months, perhaps the next year? What's the roadmap?
It's difficult because what are the next couple of months of Formula One? Right now, we all hope that the season can start again in Austria. So if it's so and Formula One resume, we need to see what will happen also in terms of regulation, in terms of Concord Agreement. Concord Agreement was supposed to be signed by all the teams end of last year or in this period. Obviously, it probably will be postponed. We need to understand what are the rules for new teams to arrive in Formula One, because the new Concord Agreements, there is a specific discussion about this in the Concord Agreement. So we don't know what is the result of those discussions. We don't know yet what it is. There was a lot of rumors. There were 200 million of entry fee. There was this kind of thing. Is it still true? Is it still the same? Once we know what we have to work with, we can decide, okay, this is all we're going to enter, or this is impossible to enter, or this is we know what we are working with. And again, it's not the period we can discuss really with F1 or with FIA to those things. They are focused on other things, and we understand that. And we don't want to come and disturb and be okay, we are here, we want to come in. It's not the right way. We want to do it when everybody's ready and do it the proper way, so we can be successful and we add something to Formula One, not just be there to be there.
Finally, can you give me an understanding of the name behind the Panthera? Where did that come from?
It came from one of our backers. That Panthera is an animal, is a species that is very, very, you can find around Southeast Asia, and it means different animals in different countries. So, and he liked the idea of having this animal that I think will be a symbol of the team. So we kind of agreed on that. It's give a nice name.
It's fantastic. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.